Home Life. It's Home Plus Life Podcast.
We're finally back.
We are finally back.
We can do weekly episodes again.
We can, but like I was saying to you before, I'm really finding it annoying seeing all of the crap.
I know. We're still in the process of moving, and we've still got everything sort of. There's rubbish. There's DVDs, and we need some new furniture and all that as we're working it all out. But we're working all out.
We need to clean our desks up, even though we've just moved in.
My desk's got so much temporary crap on it because I don't know where it's going to go. But that's right. We'll fix all that up. But at least we're able to do an ep again.
Yes.
Like we missed last week. We've done two eps in 4 weeks, which we've been weekly for 40-something episodes, and then just with this move, it kind of just derailed everything.
Yeah, but I'm sure our listeners will forgive us.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
And if they don't, then
not much we can do about it. Not much we do. All right, so I thought this episode we talked about build to rent a little while back. But I also thought this episode would bring back the JTM because, of course, in moving, we're setting up in a new place. There's been a couple of JTMs, STMs that have popped up. One in particular that I'm really excited about. Thought we'll chat about that. But look, I think the build to rent scenario, we posed a couple of pros with it and a couple of cons with it, and there's
and
one.
This was one of my.
It was one of your big concerns, and holy baby Jesus, Batman, has it played out in the ACT in a major way?
Yeah.
Like in a scary way.
After you sending through the article and I read it, I was just like, that was one of my concerns. And I am so glad that they didn't just get a tisk, you should not do that. It was an absolute reaming.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, how disconnected from society are you?
Yeah, look, and shout out to Belle from Market Buy who sent us through the article, listens into the podcast and listened to the build to rent episode and came across this and sent it through to us. So for those of you who don't know, abc.net.au published an article on the 9th of February, talked about the ACT Excessive Rent Increase Civil Administrative Tribunal rejected a claim from a company called Empire Global Developments. And Empire Global Developments had made a request to the tribunal to increase the tenant's rent by 20%. Now, just some very quick background information. In the ACT, an increase of rent of 10% or more requires an application to be made to this civil and administrative tribunal, right, for them to adjudicate on it.
I did laugh at the reasons why they gave forward as to why the increase should occur.
Oh, look, there was numerous reasons. There was the increase of in interest rates on borrowing.
Yeah.
So increased costs there. There was the increase in rates and government taxes and that sort of stuff as well. What I found really, really interesting, just jumping onto the borrowing, the increase in rent and borrowing, I'm not sure if it was a judge or a magistrate, but I think it was a magistrate. Whoever was chairing up the tribunal chastised the BTR group.
This wasn't just a little chastise either. This was like a backhand.
Well, it was they sat there and said you claim these issues in borrowing, increasing in rents.
Yeah, what's happening to the renters?
But no, it wasn't that. So what got me was they said you're claiming there's been an increase in borrowing costs. Please show us your increase.
Was that too.
And the financial
that's right. They
individual,
said that they wouldn't or couldn't remember.
No, that wasn't it. They just refused to answer the question. They refused to produce the documentation.
They turned around and just went, "Oh no, can't."
It was look.
No, I do not wish to comment. And it was just like, okay, but you're claiming these things.
Yeah.
Why do you not want to comment if you're making claims against these things?
Yeah, well, and that's exactly it. And an interesting point, and the magistrate did make this and highlight this, was one of the comments that the BTR group made, the Empire Global whatever, was if the tenants don't like it, they can just move out.
Yes. And whoa, did that make my blood boil.
Yeah, talking about like what's
'Cause
the
where else do they-
ACCC have what do they call it? Unconscionable conduct.
Yes.
When so
And
under
they got pulled up for that, didn't they?
I don't believe those words were used, but they definitely got slapped for basically exerting power against powerless.
Because the other thing that they did also say in that article was that if the apartments were made as one bedroom and had actually
Yes.
been okayed by the council as one bedroom, then one bedroom plus study is how it is to be advertised.
And they were trying to claim it was 2-bedroom, but
That's
they pointed out
right.
the study had no ventilation, no window to the outside, didn't even have its own light switch, and they were trying to pass that off as a bedroom.
Didn't have their own privacy. That was one thing
Yep.
that they did say. Didn't have
Yep.
their own privacy. So therefore, it couldn't be a bedroom. That it was a study. So therefore, advertising that it was 2-bedroom was actually incorrect.
Yeah,
And so they got a reprimand for that as well.
yeah.
They got
called out for that.
they got a reprimanding for quite a few things, which are a lot of frustrations with people.
The application overall was adjudged to be fairly poorly put together, and it was kind of slapdash. But look, the ACT tribunal ordered a more moderate 8% rent increase. So it was going to be an $85 a week rent increase. It ended up being about $35 a week.
Yeah, which is manageable.
It's manageable for a lot of people, but it's also kind of more on the side of fair, right? I think
as
everyone
opposed
agrees.
to what, 80?
Yeah, 85.
Yeah,
you know, and that's it.
Bit
So
of a difference.
yeah, what I found interesting about this is what facilitated it is the ACT actually has legislation that forces a rent increase over 10% to be put before the tribunal. Number one, I thought that was quite interesting. I felt that it addressed the issue of rental caps without actually putting a cap in place.
Yeah.
Because one of the things the Queensland government did a while back is they started talking about introducing rental caps, and if you remember, investors pretty much tried to abandon the state, and then they had to do this massive backflip.
Yeah.
It was among a whole heap of other things.
I suppose this would be an alternative to it.
It would, because it would, like, if you cap rents, right, but don't cap borrowing interest rate increases and things like that.
Just cost of living.
Essentially,
you can't cap
somebody
that.
exactly, but essentially somebody's going to get burned.
Yeah.
Right, no matter which way it looks.
Yeah.
But if you've got it uncapped, like what it is, this might shock you. Do you know what the rental increases that we've undergone in the last 2 years have been?
Oh, I'd hate to think.
45%.
Yeah.
We've gone from $550 a week to $800 a week in 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's mental.
Yeah.
And we are not the worst. We're not the worst off. Right? There's a lot of people who have seen worse than that over the last 2 years. So you get that kind of thing happening, and worse when there's no caps and there's nothing in place to kind of curb it.
That's what can happen when you don't have the supply in order to meet the demand.
I mean, we should probably put that on the soundboard as some sort of, like, maybe we get a jingle made up of
Just
supply
in
and
case.
demand. It's the theme we come back to every single week. It's supply and demand.
I think there seems to be someone out there that can be writing jingles better than what you can come up with.
Oh, for sure. Like the people who wrote the opening jingle, yeah, like I'll just go to them. But yeah, look, I found it interesting because I think that is kind of a middle ground, right? Like if it's above 10%, then you've got to put your case forward. It's not saying you can't go above 10%. It's justify it.
Yeah, well, that's it. You can't just turn around and go, you know what, I'm just going to increase $50 because that's what I think it should be. And a lot of the time, like, yes.
All right, hold on.
Hold on. Property managers can come in and just go, look, like that's well and truly above or
No,
below,
hold up. That's not how the process works.
They go through and they have a look to see as to what the growth has been around and what other places
They do
that
market
are like
comparison.
for
They
like.
don't just
Yeah.
pull a figure out of the air and go,
No.
I'm going to make it up by $50. No,
No,
they
I'm not
do a
saying
market
property managers
comparison.
do that.
And they look at what other properties are renting for in the area that are similar, much like the same way they work out a price for a house when they go to market, right? So no one's pulling these figures out of their backside. They're looking at the market
I was
forces.
referring to property owners where they're just like, well, old mate has his increased by 50 and I live next door to him and he has a property in the same suburb, so I'm going to increase it by 50, even though it's not necessarily like for like. Even though his property that old mate has is actually better maintained and well looked after as opposed to the one that he has that is just going by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that happen at all. What I am seeing happen in the absolute bucket loads is a property manager goes at the end of a lease, does their comparative market analysis, sends it through to the owner, and the owner goes, okay, increase it by X. I'm not seeing my neighbor Bob, he's getting $50 more, I want to get $50 more. Like, it probably happens, but it is the minority. Typically, it's end of lease, property manager does a CMA, rents have gone up because of market forces. I will just
accidentally drop in here that the place that we had been living still has problems in the ensuite. But that's all I'm going to say.
That was just a bomb drop for the sake of dropping a bomb. I mean, we can.
I know many of people are like, "Where did you live?"
Yeah.
No. I'm just dropping that there.
Enjoy the mold in the walls. Yeah. Anyway, so look, I think what looking at this, it actually gave a little bit of hope back in a lot of ways because ACT have seen some insane increases and they've legislated. And look, I'm the first to jump on dumb politicians legislating for dumb shit, right?
I don't have a problem with it.
When they get it right, credit's where it's due.
Look, I don't have a problem with people going, okay, let's negotiate this.
Oh, look, everything in life is negotiable. What I have a problem
with is exactly what they said in freaking court, in the tribunal, was, well, if they don't like it, they can go somewhere else.
And that is...
That doesn't just show how insensitive they are to the flip side of society, so the people who are renting off them. So if there was a person who was, facing financial hardship, what are they going to do? Oh, well, you're going to have to just break the lease, and we don't care how you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. Cool. That's great.
I'm sorry, you seem to have forgotten we live in a capitalist society.
No, look.
Like, there is compassion, but compassion's not mandated.
Yeah, clearly these people don't have compassion is what I'm getting at. Whereas the ACT have clearly got it right in this regards when it comes to going, hold on, guys, that's all well and good, but you transferring those costs onto people and then your response is if they can't do it, well... Move.
Yeah.
But the other flip side to that is that if you don't have renters, who's going to live there?
But the problem with that, and that's all fair and well. If
who's going to be paying for it?
No, but hang on, that's all fair and well if there's an undersupply of renters and you've got to compete. See, the problem we have, and again, it comes back to supply and demand. If there was enough properties for everyone, we wouldn't have these issues. If there was more properties than there were people, we wouldn't have these issues. Literally, renters, buyers, they're all like, I've lived through a buyer's market. You've lived through a buyer's market whether you realise it or not, but I've actually worked through a buyer's market, right? The market just after the GFC hit when we're selling properties, that was a buyer's market. The buyers had
that's
all of the...
when I had bought the property over that way.
Right. Well, the buyers had all the choice. They could negotiate. They could literally come in and make an offer 10% under.
Yeah, but renters don't have that choice at this particular point in time.
No, but nor do buyers at this point in time because we have this supply issue. Yeah. Right?
Supply and demand.
Exactly. We need a jingle on it, right? I can just press the button each time. So, but at the ACT, like what I've read of this and I've only read a little bit of this legislation, but the fact that anything above 10% needs a tribunal submission. Like I know in Queensland we've had some rental reforms as well, so rent can only go up once every 12 months. We don't have a.
That's only been a recent one.
Yeah, if you've signed a lease after the 1st of September 2023.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's a recent one. There's no rental caps on it, but there is facility, and I think this is something a lot of people don't know. There is facility to contest an excessive rental increase through residential tenancy authority in your state. So whatever your state body is.
So you can contest it, but what happens during that time?
Well, you've got to file through it. Like
you still got to pay it.
You've got to pay it, but that's just the way it goes. But then they can backdate. They can sort it out.
But at the same time, they can also go, we're not going to renew your lease if you don't sign it.
Well, hey, we know all about that, right?
I know.
Call someone out for acting outside of legislation, and suddenly lease doesn't get renewed.
Yeah.
So we know all about that, but look,
standing up for your rights is what happens.
Yeah, and there's law against it. It's retaliatory action.
Yeah.
But you got to go through the RTA.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to go through QCAT in the space of Queensland and so forth.
You mean the people that you should hold stuff?
Yeah, far out. Anyway,
but are we jaded? We might be.
Oh, look, I mean, we've had a pretty poor experience. And look, to put it this way, I have felt incredibly vulnerable throughout this process, and I have worked in the industry for 15 years. I have the contacts to ring and go, hey, is this right? I've read the legislation as I need to, often in various roles that I've held in this industry. I'm about to resit my real estate license again in the coming months, so I'm refreshing on legislation there again. And I'm going, this shit shouldn't be happening.
Well, like I had said to you, if they've done it to us, how many other people are they doing it to?
Yeah, and I think
people who don't actually know that it's not okay.
And I'm looking at it and I'm going, so much education needs to happen on all sides.
Which is the reason why we're doing the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. It was scary. Like at one point they tried to take all of our bond for stuff that
was in the original
entry condition report, and we kept all the photos and everything like that. And they filed for the RTA to fast track it. Now, if we had approved that and said yes, and we were told it was standard procedure, which, hang on, no, I'm sorry.
What's the point of the RTA?
Well, exactly. So if we'd approved that, suddenly they're holding our bond, and if we disagree with it, well, it's tough. Like, we can't go to the RTA because we've approved it. Yeah. We've approved them to receive everything for repairs that never needed to be done.
But see, when they said, as a reasoning behind it, that it's so that they didn't have to take old tenants to court in order to get the bond released, isn't that the whole point of the RTA?
Well, look, it is, because the RTA, so the way this process works, right?
They're the mediator, essentially.
And that's it. So we got a notification saying, hey, a claim's been made against your bond by the real estate.
Yeah.
Right.
We have got a little bit off topic, but
we have, but I think this is a really good expose into the process and what you can and can't do and all this sort of stuff, right? So real estate made a claimed all sorts on repairs, cleaning. We'd had a bond clean done, pest had that done. There was a whole heap of stuff. And it was basically we're claiming
cleaning.
We'd had that done 3 times in 12 months. We had all the receipts, we had everything, right? But they still claimed and requested a fast track, which would have released the bond to them in, I think, about 48 hours. Yeah. Right. I've immediately read this, and we were still
negotiating as to what
we weren't even negotiating. It was, hey, you need to fix this up or whatever.
Yeah,
and we were like,
your pots. I will take that.
Yeah, we forgot our pots.
How we forgot those though. But although I remember unpacking and going, I wonder what happened to our fry pans.
Yeah. But anyway, so we were still sorting through that, and this request has been made. So the RTA notifies us and says, hey, this request has been made. They want to fast track it. If you agree with this, we'll release the bond to them within 48 hours. I've gone and looked at it, and they're claiming everything. Yeah. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because we've obviously got a report, an exit condition report, saying you need to fix this, 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 and this. And we're going, hang on, that's all on the original entry condition report.
Yeah, because I went through that.
You went through that, right? You made a 66-point, rebuttal to it. It was brilliant. But so that's what
happens when I cross my T's and I dot my I's.
Exactly. So we've got this request. We've turned around and immediately rejected it. So the process is they can request a fast track, you as the tenant or you as the real estate, depending on who's made the request. Now, we hadn't made a request for the bond because we were still working through the exit, right? They've made the request. We've turned around and rejected it and said no dice. After that point, each party has 14 days to make a statement of claim.
Yeah.
Right? So within 48 hours, they've then made a statement of claim for the entire bond again. Right? So the RTA said, hey, they've made a statement of claim on your bond. It's the entire bond. This is the details. This is it all spelled out, all the rest of it. I've gone, hell no. Because at this point, we'd gone back, fixed it, grabbed our frying pan. There was a couple of bits and pieces. There was just minor stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so we'd fixed that up. They hadn't even gone back to do an exit report after we'd fixed that stuff up and are filing for the entire bond again.
And considering that those carpets were cleaned and there was footprints.
Let's not go into that. So the process so far, they've requested a fast track. We had the ability to agree or disagree. We disagreed. So they had to make a statement of claim. They've now made a statement of claim. We had 14 days to respond to that statement of claim. Now, we responded immediately and rejected it, flat out. The next step in the process is you go to QCAP mediation.
Yeah.
Right? Which is all fair and well. And you take your bits and pieces and you prove your bits and pieces. Now, the language that we got was, we're going to make a claim on your bond to put it on hold.
Yeah.
Right? It's just our standard policy. Now, if we had approved any of those claims on our bond, that bond was now entirely in their possession. Now, regardless of how honest they may or may not be, who knows? They've now got the money, and if we disagree with anything they say, they're in complete control.
Yeah.
But the RTA is meant to be holding it for this exact reason, so that there's an independent body holding it, so nobody's got the power over anybody else, right? So what's really important in this experience, and the reason we're sharing, it's not to rag on them. We haven't even named the real estate. We're not going to name the real estate. It's not about ragging on them. What it is to show that there are practices and policies out there that whether they're legal or not, who knows? I'm not going to comment. But as a tenant, you've got a right and you've got the options through the RTA. And the RTA is a fantastic resource. I had a couple of chats with them. They've been amazing every time I've talked to them.
Now, I do just want to put out there for the investors who do the right thing, who are genuinely, and we did originally, the first owner. And
it was incredible.
The first
We'd send him
property
wine at
manager,
Christmas, send him homemade bacon and all sorts. We had a great relationship.
We had a great relationship with him. We had a great relationship with the first property manager, so much so where we are now is actually through the same
property manager, the original property manager. Yeah.
And when we got out of the car, she was like, "Oh my God!" Oh, so there is fantastic property managers out there. There is fantastic investors out there who do the right thing, who just want to work with the tenants. And there's also many tenants out there who are good and fantastic as well.
Absolutely there are.
So, everyone wants, there's always people who want to work together.
Yeah.
And when there's a communication breakdown, that is when all shit hits the fan.
Absolutely. And that's when things get messy as well. But I look at it and I think...
And I have said plenty of times before, it's amazing what communication can do, right?
But I think what's really, really important for everybody involved is investors and tenants need to go and read up the RTA. Use the RTA resources, whichever, Residential Tenancies Authority, whatever the equivalent body is for each state. I believe it's still the RTA across every state. Don't quote me on that. I must admit I haven't looked down that rabbit hole. But, use those resources because they are phenomenal. They've been an incredible help. And we are in a market where the tenant is disadvantaged.
Yeah.
This is 100% a market for those who own property to dictate terms.
Yeah.
The government has stepped in, has put legislation reforms in place to protect, as well as to still allow investors to make money, because the investors should make money.
Are also doing a good job.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job. Yeah. They're doing a fantastic job. And look, always remember...
So that's real estate industry.
Real estate industry of real estate institute. You always say industry and tricks me out. Real estate institute of your state. They do a fantastic job. But always remember to...
It's because you just call them the REIs.
Yeah, well, it's
so I just throw whatever.
Shorthand. But
whatever I word. Real estate igloos.
Oh, God. Here's trouble. But, yeah.
No, I'm just throwing him off. Come on, make your point. Real estate igloos. Go for it.
I don't even know what the hell I was talking about.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
There's a rabbit hole for you.
Just cut me a fishing hole, I'll dive into the ice and freeze to death. I think this is what she does to me all the time, every day. I'll be making a point, I'll be in full flight and just real estate igloos. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. This is my life.
Now he's going to be thinking about.
I'm trying to figure out what it was I was talking about. Because it was an important point.
I said the REIs were doing a really good job.
The REIs are doing a fantastic job.
Making
and
sure.
that's what the point I want to make is we all need, remember too, without investors, we would be in a far worse position. Investors should be able to make money somehow, some way from their investment property. Otherwise, why the hell are they doing it? Right?
Okay, so I'm just going, and we had a discussion yesterday morning, I think it was, where I was just like, look at it with a complete business mind, completely clinical, no emotions, no nothing. This is not to get people's backs up, but if you were just to look at it as a business, you will see that an investor puts money into a company, house, in order to make money.
Absolutely.
And yes, there is, emotions and like people needing houses and everything like that. Not saying that there isn't, but what I'm saying here is a very clinical, no emotions attached. You're putting your money into something, you want a return.
Absolutely. And
that goes with anything.
As a tenant, if you work with them, and look, not all property managers, not all investors will allow that to happen in a lot of ways. But if you can work with them, where you can either maintain the value of their investment or help improve it in some small way, it's not your obligation to, but just by looking after it properly, and that is, by the way, that is your legal obligation, is to look after the property and maintain it and so forth as well. So it is that relationship. Now, there's a lot of people that may get upset about us saying investors should see a return on their investment in property. And that I understand where that comes from. That comes from the argument that shelter should not be an investment.
Yeah.
Right? And you know what? To some degree, I support that.
Yeah.
However, the massive reality check that I will always get in trouble for saying and delivering with the force of a frying pan to the face is this. That's all well and good, but it's a utopian ideal in a country that decided long before any of us were born that property would be an investment in this country.
Yeah.
And, just jump up and down about that. It's all well and good, but you're not actually going to change anything unless you've got the billions of dollars to go and build the houses that are needed, and then you choose to provide them as shelter and not force them to be an investment, right? And you want to be...
Realistically, it's not until something drastically happens in that regards. And when I mean drastically happens, I mean...
The government would have to step in and do it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Someone comes in that has billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars, to be able to go, you know what, we're just going to be starting up a whole heap of little metropolises to be able to handle everyone. Yep. And everyone's going to have a house to live in. And it's going to be happy days. Until that has happened, unfortunately, there is going to be this issue.
Exactly.
And
so jumping up and down going, shelter shouldn't be an investment. Morally, ethically,
absolutely.
Agree with you. But the realist in me turns around and goes, that's a cute idea. That's not reality. Get with the program. This is reality. Yeah. Let's figure out how we, and this is the thing, be as valuable in the equation as you can possibly. It's the same thing. The same advice I've given you, the same advice I've given all of our kids, our nephews, nieces, all of that who are of job working age. Our eldest who has jobs and all that, he's doing grade 12 at the moment. Be invaluable to the company, because the more valuable you are, the more skills you bring, the greater negotiation position you have. The more needed you are, the more preferred you are in any capitalist market, the greater position you have to negotiate from. It is leverage. If there is 1 million of you out there, then you have no leverage.
I know that this sounds really bad, but everyone is replaceable when it comes to a work.
Oh, absolutely. So, you didn't like it when I said that to you, but I also then said I'm replaceable too. We're all replaceable.
Would continually say that.
Yeah, we're all replaceable.
He's just like, what do you bring to the table?
Exactly.
And then I would tell him, and he goes, cool, there's another 50 gazillion of you out there.
Yep. So
Cool.
be like, and this is going to sound really harsh, and there's probably already a lot of people pissed off, but as a tenant, that means be the best possible tenant you can be.
Yep.
Right? Do the best you can possibly do, and so that when a property manager sees you, or when you go, hey, it's time for me to move and you need another property manager, you've got people that are willing to help and willing to work with you.
Yeah.
The other thing is be the best tenant you can be, because there's a greater chance for negotiation from your point of view.
Yeah.
Because that same cost side of things that, you know, investors look at to get a return, that also comes into play when it becomes a case of you moving actually costs them money. Because there is a time the property is without revenue, without
Not
income,
just
all that sort
that.
of stuff as well.
If
And there's new letting fees to the real estate.
Well,
The whole works.
Not just that side of things. If you're an investor and you have good tenants,
You want to keep them.
You don't want them to go.
Yeah.
Because there's no guarantee that you're going to get good tenants again.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
Whereas, and then even with property managers, you have good tenants. You want to keep them on your rent roll.
Yeah.
You don't want them going anywhere.
Look, it's a
Because
relationship.
If they go, then you have to try and find someone where you're just like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
there's no guarantee for us that they're going to be good.
That's it. And so it's a relationship, and I think that's what's gotten lost in the noise and the mess that we're in, because the whole market's in a mess. But I like what getting back to our original point, like we've tangented like champions, but I really like what the ACT have done here. I like a lot of the stuff that Queensland have done with the rental reforms. No, only one rent increase per 12 months. I think that still allows investors to increase the rent. It will lead to sticker shock, like increased shock, because they'll need to increase larger amounts, but it also gives consistency for 12 months to tenants. So it's kind of a bit of a trade-off, and I think that it's a good step in the right direction. I think that we all need to get out of our heads and our hearts in the sense of, whether shelter should be an investment or not, and just accept the fact that it actually is in this country, and figure out how we can build more of it and decrease the pressures on the rental market, on the buying market, and how we can apply pressure to our governments, multiple levels of government, to move faster, build more properties, and to alleviate the stress, because it's filtering across all of life
nationwide.
Oh, I think there'd be a lot of benefit to it. I like what the ACT have done here.
Yeah,
I think it's fair. I think if an investor needs more than 10% increase, they can absolutely go and make a case for it.
Yeah.
And if the case is legit, I imagine the tribunal will approve it.
Yeah.
It sounds to me here, this case, it wasn't, if it was legit, it wasn't presented well enough.
Sorry, I've just realised that.
Your mic's dropping.
Yeah.
All this new setup, we gotta get it all dialed in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, I'm just talking to your eyeballs, and
Yeah. That's all right.
it's a bit weird. All I can see is eyeballs. You look like a little bit like Foo.
I reckon it's time for a JTM.
Okay.
Let's see which rabbit holes we're going down in this episode. It's time for JTM. It's J-Thought Moment. It might be drinking whiskey, woodwork, smoking meat, podcasting, story writing, treasure hunting, you name it. What really grinds my gears, singing, playing TV shows. As you can see, nothing's off limit. It's JTM, J-Thought Moment. JTM. What will be his next shiny object? JTM. It's time for this week's J-Thought Moment.
Yeah, the headphones are over there. I haven't heard that in ages.
I can hear it too.
I like that jingle too. We got good jingles.
Okay.
I like them. Whatever. You can be a negative Nancy over there.
Okay. Thanks. Not that I really
So-
need your permission to do so.
No one ever needs anyone's permission to be a negative Nancy.
Or a cranky Karen.
Dodgy Dave. So we're in a new place.
We're in a new place, and as usual, I always go down I have my own rabbit hole
You do.
of going down how can we make, the garden look nice. And it's not that the gardens don't look nice here. There was just a couple of things that I'm like, that needs to be weeded. I would like plants here and I would like plants there.
But there was a nice raised garden bed already here with nothing in it. Like it looks to me like it had been sort of ignored for a period.
I think on some level it could have just been like a kid's sand pit.
Yeah, potentially.
Given the fact that that's all sand.
Potentially.
But it's worked out.
It has.
Because it works out that it's got good drainage.
And that's exactly what chili plants need.
Yeah.
And you see, so I happen to love chili plants. Well, my greatest regret at our last place.
It did move, didn't it?
I have no idea.
I don't feel that I moved it down there. I thought I moved it up here.
I don't know what you were doing. I don't know. I moved mine down because I realised I could see better and I wasn't staring at half the mic boom.
Yeah, no, I feel that it's slowly drooping.
Might have to tighten it a bit later. We'll see. I'll watch it.
It'll just be like,
we've all been there. So I make a really cool chili salt seasoning that I've lovingly called murder sprinkles. I've been making it for about 2 years.
It is moving, yeah.
Is it? I can't tell.
I feel that it is moving. Anyone watching.
Is it moving?
I don't
Is it
know.
moving? Is it not moving?
It sort of feels like it is.
I think it is. I think it is. It's moving.
It's annoying me.
Oh dear. No, just do what I've done. Have it hang down low and then have the mic pointed up, so then it's not covering your face.
No, but I did that, and where you've got it.
There we go. That should be all right. We'll make that work.
Well, it's just so that people can hear me.
Yeah, and that's all that matters. So I make murder sprinkles.
I know. I'm aware.
I know you love
try
them.
to kill me with them when you don't warn me that that's what you're doing.
So
And you get up my schnoz and then I end up sneezing.
And these murder sprinkles, they're amazing. Like, that's not just coming from me. This is the first time I've ever made anything where, food-wise, where people just keep demanding it. Like, I've done barbecue before. I've done amazing briskets. I've done all that sort of stuff. People are like, yeah, that's amazing. And you might get one request sometime down the line going, you know what I'd really love? I'd love you to do your pulled pork or something like that, right? But here, I'll make a jar of this. I'll give it to someone, and they're coming back for more. Every single person I've given murder sprinkles to has come back asking for more.
Every time.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Mum. But, so, the problem that I have is I'm running out of my supplies, because Murder Sprinkles has, like, 15 of the hottest chilies in the world, dehydrated, smoked, ground up, and put in among with a whole heap of other spices that make it tasty. And the reason it's called Murder Sprinkles, by the way, is it's kind of choose your own adventure, right? You can go one sprinkle and it's going to be
Depends
quite good.
whether you want to be like stabbed through the heart or through the eyeballs.
But if it's like if you just go lightly,
Or
you
if
work lightly,
if you
it's
just
quite
want to
tasty.
raise your knees slightly on a bit of,
like you get to choose. You choose your own adventure, right? Like
you
it's
want some gravel burn.
a little bit. It's got a nice bit of heat, but it's quite comfy. A little bit more, it starts to get a bit hot. A little bit more. By the time you get to the fourth or fifth sprinkle, you're approaching melt your face off territory.
Yeah.
But it gives you like a whole heap of flavor with it and whatnot. So I'm running low on my 15 of the hottest chilies combination, smoked, dehydrated, all that powder. So this was a great opportunity to turn the sandpit / garden bed out there.
And also the fact that
into a chili garden.
Yes.
Yeah. So we may have gone on a drive, ended up
Well, you
Bunnings?
said, I just said to you, when you're available, let's go for a drive. And it wasn't until we were walking out the door that you were like, well, you'll have to drive because I don't know where we're going. And we get in the car and I went, well, funnily enough, neither do I.
hour and a half later, we're rocking back up at home, and we have 10 different chili varietals.
And some strawberries.
And some strawberries.
And a sage plant.
And a sage plant. And so we're...
Because we already had parsley, basil, rosemary. And that's it, isn't it?
I think so. There was one more,
Mint.
wasn't it? Mint. Yep. So we've spent the afternoon yesterday building...
then I did
this
also,
chili
in
garden.
the morning, I had gone to the nursery and I had bought a
The mulberry bush and the lemon tree.
And a lemon tree.
Yeah.
And we already had zucchinis and cucumbers.
Yeah. So we spent the afternoon building out with Avalon a garden. The boys were playing video games. They didn't really want to get dirty, but our princess was more than happy to jump in and get dirty. And
she looked not horrified. She looked very confused when we said, "Go and get changed into something that you want that you can get.
You're
dirty
happy to get dirty in."
And she was just like, "What?
Mm.
You want me to what?"
Yeah, but it was kind of a cool, fun thing to do with the at least one of the kids and engage and she was planting chili trees, and we had chili trees, we had little chili sproutlings, like we had the whole gamut. We had the mulberry tree, dwarf mulberry tree, and that. So we're planting all that. We're putting compost in
the hanging chilies,
the hanging chilies as well. So that's going to be fun. And murder sprinkles, like I then might have jumped on Amazon and gone and bought a whole heap of ingredients for murder sprinkles in bulk and a grinder that can handle 2 kilos worth of ingredients at a time to grind up to make more murder sprinkles.
Of course she did.
And make a massive, massive batch of murder sprinkles.
Of course she did.
Yeah. Maybe. Can neither confirm nor deny.
Maybe you've just said, I have.
I said I might have.
I also know that is your lingo.
Look, we're going to
have.
find out like when 15 or 16 packages rock up tomorrow whether or not I did or not.
Yeah. So you have to remember that I too also have access to your work email address of where all of your Amazon notifications come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm totally aware as to what has been ordered and when it will be delivered.
So I reckon then
I reckon that it's true that there's going to be 15 odd different packages that turn up that do have chili stuff in it.
Maybe.
There's no maybe about it.
But I think...
Unless something happens to the delivery driver, and I really hope that nothing happens to the delivery driver.
Well, me too. We never want that to happen. But I think
my arm is...
I think we're going to do something with your arm. I'll fix that. Maybe I'll jump on Amazon and get something to fix it. But I also think that...
It's really annoying. Like really annoying.
Maybe some of our listeners who like chili might want to taste test the next batch of murder sprinkles.
Yeah, why not?
So I'll tell you what, if you like your chilies and your chili salts, where's our cameras go? If you like your chilies and your chilies...
set them
I set them, I got no idea. But let's try this again. If you like your chilies and chili salts, send me an email to john@cmhp.com.au with the headline, go chili salts. I think if you go murder sprinkles, it's probably going to get caught in the spam, or maybe you might have ASIO knocking on your door or something like that, the AFP coming for a visit.
I want your chilies.
I want your chilies. That'll do. And I will come back to you.
So what is it? I want your chilies?
I want your chilies.
As a subject line?
I want your chili salts as a subject line.
Okay.
Put it this way, if it's anything to do with chilies, I'm going to know what it's about.
Yeah.
Right, we've given 16 different subject lines.
John
at CMHP. Charlie, what's the M one?
Mary?
Is it Mary? John, JOHN. So what's the J phonetic?
I like how you're asking me as I was supposed to know because I did work in aviation insurance. I don't know.
I don't know either. This is...
I just think of...
I got to look it up.
I just think of...
You'll get the email
Bloodhound
address.
Gangs? What was it? Remember that song that they used to sing? Foxtrot.
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
No. Where were you back in the late 90s? Don't you remember the Bloodhound Gangs song? What was it?
Oh, Juliet. Jay's Juliet.
Oh, right. I thought you were talking
about
the blood.
All right. So it's john@cmhp.com.au. So that becomes, here we go, Juliet, Oscar, Hotel, November, at Charlie, Hotel, Mike, Papa.com.au. john@cmhp.com.au. Send me a subject line, I want your chilies or something to that effect, something that involves chili. And then I will come back to you and get a postal address, and we'll send you some chilies when I make this new batch.
Cool.
Some chili salts.
But
on with the deal, that you give us a review, an honest review back. I want to see how good they are outside of our circle of friends and colleagues.
Oh, you're talking about the chili salt,
Yeah.
not about this, not about the podcast. We don't want to know anything about the podcast.
I don't know. I'll take reviews. I don't know. Spent my whole life being told how everything I do is wrong. It's not going to hurt me now.
Maybe it will hurt me. What about me?
Harden up, princess.
What about me? It isn't fair.